Hi, this is Stan. Welcome back to the Crow's Nest Railroad. Well, we have a shop project today. I have to do some work on the brakes on this engineering car, so hope you can stay tuned. Well, we recently had a field trip and I took this car along with me, and before it goes back in the barn, I thought this is the perfect time for me to make that change to the brakes that I have been planning on. So let's get this thing into the shop and get busy. So this was the original engineering or driving car that I made for the Crow's Nest Railroad, and you can see it's got a shelf for feet and the seat slides in here. It's really sort of a multi-purpose car, and although I'd like it in the future to be a similar driving car, I want to redo the brakes. The caliper on here is just a bicycle caliper, and it goes down through the bottom and it's sort of in the way. I'm going to put a lever on the outside like I did on my maroon, the new driving car that I built. So first thing is, let's get this disconnected. So you can see how this goes down through the bottom of the car, and that's sort of in the way, and on into the rear truck. So I'm going to disconnect that and pull all of the cabling out. Here's a look at the underside. This is where the cable used to come down through this hole in the center of the floor and on into this rear truck. This time it's going to come through more like this and connect to the brake back here. I made sure that it's not going to intersect this truck if it gets jammed over, although when it's running it's never jammed over this far. Here's the mounting bracket and the brake handle. Cable will run out here and through, so I'll have to drill a hole here and on the bottom. Now I may end up spacing this off the cabinet just a little bit, we'll see. Of course the trick is we're not going in at a 90 degrees to this side panel. I'm going to have to lay that drill over, so I'm going to have to start in and lay that drill over and get a long angle through this side plank wall. And we'll upsize our drill bit. Make the hole a little bigger. Alright, well I decided to do a test fit before I got a bigger drill bit, and this size seems to be fine. I think if I drill right about there, that should do it. A little bit of an angle this way and diving down. So I've got to enlarge in that hole by one size here. So this will come through like this and around. And I'll be sure to have a little bit of buckle in this so that it can follow that rear truck. And it doesn't seem to intersect this at all. That's good. Alrighty, back to this side of things. Here's our mounting bracket, and I marked for our 2 holes, a small one here to keep it from spinning, and a larger hole in the back that's going to support the bolt, the pivot bolt for the brake handle. I think I'm going to put some blue tape on the back side to help with the tear out. This is going to be a pretty big hole. What I sometimes do is spin the drill bit backwards for a couple seconds to help with the tear out on the top end. So the handle is just temporarily mounted right now. I didn't put the nut on this bolt or the washer, but I want to fit it in place just so we can get the right length of the jacket on the wire here. So let's just fit this in here for now. And then we're going to go underneath and cut the jacket to the right length. You basically get one shot at this. You don't want to cut it too short. We want to make sure that there's enough play in this to allow the truck to rotate. All right, let's feed the cable through. Now, just in case this cable wants to droop down and get caught on something, I have a little bracket that's been laying around, and I'm going to screw that bracket in, but I'm going to space it off with a couple of nuts, and that will hold this brake wire, allow it to wiggle, but not to droop down. So we have the sleeve. I found a little metal collar on the old brake cable that I reused for here to give it a little more positive push against this bracket, and we fed the cable through. So now I almost lost this. It took me a few minutes to find it when I took it off the other one. This is a little lock that pinches the cable and allows this to squeeze. So let me slip this on, tighten it down, and then I'll cut the cable to the right length. Alright, everything seems to move freely enough. And the front truck doesn't hit the cable. And when I apply the brakes, you can see this is spinning freely. Now it pinches. One thing I would like to have, I'd like to have a little bit of a spring that forces this back to a neutral position so the brake shoes are not touching on the front and back, but I just don't have one here in the shop. I'm going to have to hit the hardware store and find a little bit of a spring that I can put in there. Alright, back from the hardware store, got a little compression spring. It will need to fit in there. I'll have to cut it. I sort of guessed at the amount of resistance that is needed. So let me start by clipping this off. Alright, that's always a bit fiddly, but let's take it out on the track and see if it's going to work. Alright, we're back on the rails. This is a little downhill section. Let me test the brakes out. That seemed to work just fine. Well, I think that's going to work just great. Maybe in a future episode we'll test it with a longer train to see how the brake holds up then. But for now, this little guy's going back into the barn with Rodney, and we hope to see you right here next time on the Crow's Nest Railroad.